Welcome to Life is Dataful on LinkedIn Live. I'm Michael Walsh, a writer and content strategist at Publicis Sapient. On this week's episode, I'd like to talk about how most people think social media is having a negative impact on society, yet still spend a lot of time on these platforms. Tristan Harris, a computer scientist and former design ethicist at Google, recently testified before the Senate Subcommittee on Privacy, Technology, and the Law. He argued that social media companies promote whatever content will keep their users on the site for longer, which includes disinformation, and that their business models value maximum engagement at all costs. He said, at the end of the day, a business model that preys on human attention means that we're worth more as human beings and as citizens of this country when we're polarized, addicted, outraged, narcissistic, and disinformed. Because that means the business model was successful at steering our attention using automation. According to the Pew Research Center, the number of Americans who say they use at least one social media site has increased more or less unabated since the mid-aughts, around the time Facebook was founded. For example, adults in the U.S. ages 18 to 29 who use social media has risen from 7% in 2005 to 86% this year. And these sites aren't the casual, novel distractions they were back in 2005 either. The Pew Research Center reports that among U.S. adults who use Facebook, 70% say they visit the site daily. According to another report from Statista, internet users in the U.S. spent an average of 2 hours and 3 minutes on social media daily. The ubiquity of social media can be concerning. A separate Pew study found that 64% of Americans think social media has a mostly negative effect on the way things are going in this country. Only 10% think it's mostly positive. When asked for the main reason they think social media has this negative effect on the nation, 28% of respondents said they spread misinformation and made up news. 16% mentioned hate, harassment, or extremism, and 11% perceived a lack of critical thinking skills among many users, leading them to believe essentially whatever they see or read. So there's a disconnect here. A majority of Americans think social media is harming society, but a majority still use it. As an internal Facebook memo pointed out, people say they find politics on social media exhausting, but that divisive political discourse still generates a lot of engagement. So, what's going on? Well, both are true. People are sick of the divisive politics online, but it also draws them in, whether they like it or not. Harris, the design ethicist I quoted earlier, co-founded the Center for Humane Technology, a nonprofit that's dedicated to radically reimagining digital infrastructure so that humane technology supports our well-being and the health of our democracy. Our brains have vulnerabilities that can be exploited through persuasive technologies to increase engagement. According to the Center for Humane Technology, social media hacks our innate physiology by making trivial things feel urgent, encouraging endless loops of seeking new stimuli without offering fulfillment, forcing us to multitask because we're very distractible, weaponizing fear and anxiety because negative information draws more attention, encouraging compulsive comparison because we're social animals, and giving us information that reinforces what we want to believe is true, creating online bubbles where people have alternate versions of reality. Data from peer-reviewed academic journals indicate that these strategies undermine our ability to make sense of the world, as well as our relationships and mental health. A study from MIT found that fake news spreads 6 times faster than real news because it has more emotional content and contains unexpected information. An NYU study found that every word of moral outrage in a tweet increased its number of retweets by 17%. Similar studies have linked social media addiction to higher levels of neuroticism and lower brain volumes. The humane technology movement cites these reasons when calling for increased regulation of these platforms. At the same time, people love social media. That's why many still use it despite the harms. If ad-driven technology platforms focus less on making their platforms addictive and more on the well-being of the user, we would be able to enjoy what's great about these platforms on our own terms. Checking social media should be a choice, not a compulsion. Of course, users can take small steps in the meantime, like turning off notifications, By transforming business practices and our own habits, maybe we can preserve what's great about these platforms while minimizing the damage. Thank you again for joining us on Life is Dataful on LinkedIn Live. I'm Michael Walsh. Please tune in next time to hear more about the ways that data is affecting our lives. Take care.